Welcome to the Physical Product Movement, a podcast by Fiddle. We share stories of the world's most ambitious and exciting physical product brands to help you capitalize on the monumental change in how, why, and where consumers buy. I'm your host, Ken Ojuka. In today's interview, I speak with John Merris, CEO of Solo Brands, maker of the incredibly popular and fast-growing Solo Stove. We covered a lot in this interview, including John's belief and passion for customer experience. This has motivated Solo Brands to make unintuitive moves like stand up their own in-house global warehouse and fulfillment platform. It's also inspired them to continually focus on D2C, which drives the majority of their revenue. John talks about how this closeness to the customer has helped them not only quickly iterate on their initial product, but has also inspired the creation of their other products. John talks about their acquisition of other outdoor brands and the economies gained from leveraging their warehouse and fulfillment capabilities. I learned a lot from this interview, and so will you. Enjoy. Hey, John. Hey, thanks for jumping on the podcast. Welcome.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Good to be with you, Ken.
Yeah. How you doing today? Where are you calling from?
Doing great. I'm out in North Texas, DFW area.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we overlapped a little bit. You know, we both lived here in Provo at the same time. You know, so when I saw you, I was like, he looks so familiar. So I'm sure I've seen you around.
Yeah, I was out there for 5 or 6 years, and then my wife and I ended up back in Texas. I grew up outside of Austin and down here, and so we came back down to Texas and have been here for the last 13, 14 years.
And she's from Texas too?
She's actually from California, Southern California, and then moved to Northern California in high school. So a little bit of both for her. And so I drug her down to Texas for the old 2-year trick. It'll be 2 years and I'll get you out to California. and it's been 14. So I guess it worked out, but she's loving it down here as well.
I might need to pull out that trick. I grew up in Arizona, and I would love to go back to Arizona. So maybe I'll have to try that. I call it
the old 2-year trick. So you might have to pull out the old, honey, hey, we need to go down for a couple of years, and then we'll get back right here for you. And next thing you know, they fall in love with it.
Well, awesome. Well, why don't you begin by introducing yourself? Just tell us a little bit about your background and what you do, and then maybe we can jump into your business and the inspiration behind it.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is John Merris. I am the CEO of Solo Brands, formerly the CEO of Solo Stove, which is evolving pretty quickly. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit today. But my background is in a variety of growth-related, high-growth businesses, high-profit businesses, taking anything from digital media companies to glass board manufacturing company to now outdoor lifestyle business, through pretty hyper growth phases, single digit EBITDA multiples, and growing them to 20, 40, 50 million and beyond of EBITDA and well beyond 100 million of revenue across a variety of different brands that I've worked for over the past 7 or 8 years. And so it's been a really super fun career for me. And, people ask me all the time, how did you end up at Solo Stove? I was actually hired by the founders. I'm not the founder of Solo Stove, but I was about the 7th or so employee that started here, and was hired by the founders who started this business in 2011 as a lifestyle company where they were in love with e-com, with the idea of selling products online, and they were in love with the outdoors. And they put those two things together and built this incredible brand, Solo Stove. And, I mentioned a little bit earlier that I grew up outside of Austin, Texas. I actually grew up on a 50-acre ranch. Spent most of my childhood outdoors, spent tons and tons of time around fires. And so when they called me about 3.5 years ago and said, hey, we'd love to pay you to play with fire, I took the job immediately. That sounded like, like as a kid, everybody has their dream job. And most of the time it's like, I want to be a policeman or a firefighter. And I think at the time, if somebody would have said, you could have a dream job where you get to play with fire and people pay you for it, I probably would have picked that over any of the other dream jobs as a kid. But
there you go. Yeah.
Joined a few years ago and we've been growing ever since. It's been a super fun ride.
Give us an idea of of the size of the company, how many employees, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we are today about 250 employees, and continuing to add talent across the organization when we find great people, and continuing to grow as well from really in all aspects of the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys were gracious enough to send me one of the Solo stoves, and I thought it was, I didn't know what to think. Actually, initially, I looked at it and I was like, what's so great about this product? But I got to tell you, I whipped it out on a Sunday evening with my family. I've got 5 kids. We had the neighbors over, and we were doing s'mores. It was awesome. That's when I kind of saw, okay, I think they're onto something. This is a great product.
It's really amazing. Listen, I grew up on a 50-acre ranch. I probably sat around hundreds of fires as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably not an exaggeration. And when the founders of Solo Stove said to me, we've really kind of reinvented fire, I thought it was kind of
Is that what they said?
I mean, fire's been around for a really long time. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a pretty bold statement, right? I mean, we've made fire better is pretty bold. And then I experienced the Solo Stove the way you did last Sunday night for the first time, and it blew my mind for a variety of reasons. First off, it's a wood-burning fire pit that burns nearly smokeless, which is incredible. Anybody that sat around a fire knows that there's this something about the laws of the earth that if you're sitting around a fire, the smoke will find you no matter what seat you sit in. Everybody's played the musical chair game around the fire and
Yep.
have smoke in their face, and women hate sitting around them because their hair smells like smoke, and then they've got to go shower before they get into bed and all that kind of stuff. And these guys just created this incredible product. There's no electronics in it, but it's the way it's engineered and the way the airflow works. It actually creates a secondary combustion where hot air, which has smoke in it, actually combusts. This preheated air combusts, and it takes the smoke with it, and you end up with just very minimal smoke. And then on top of that, you add this portability component. For me, when I was growing up as a kid, the reason I enjoyed hundreds of fires as a kid was because I lived on a 50-acre ranch. My friends in the city weren't enjoying fires every weekend or every night. They were in the city. What Solo Stove allows you to do is live anywhere and truly can enjoy a campfire experience on your back patio or in your backyard, anytime, anywhere. You can take it tailgating. You can take it on your front driveway. One of my favorite things to do, which you'll have to do now that you're introduced to this, is Halloween night. When you're passing out candy to kids in your neighborhood, just go set your Solo Stove out on the driveway, grab a couple of chairs. It is the perfect night almost every year to enjoy just an incredible fire, handing out kids, candy to kids, and having a great experience. So it's beautiful that way. It's portable, it's smokeless, and it brings that campfire experience wherever you want to take it, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, we did it on the front driveway, and I thought it was just pretty cool to have the neighbors just, pop by and, visit for a little bit. It was a good experience to get to know the neighbors a little bit more,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, definitely a cool product. Does it burn warmer? It seems like there's something going on where, we didn't actually have to put that much firewood in there, but it burned for a longer time, and it seemed like the heat was like more concentrated or something. Is there something to that?
Yeah. So this product has really amazing airflow. So a traditional fire, obviously I'm a visual person and people can't see what we're talking about, but I'll try to describe it verbally.
Mm-hmm.
A traditional fire pit, let's just imagine like one of the bowl type fire pits that you can buy at Home Depot, right? $100. You put the wood in, you put the starter in or the kindling or whatever, and you start the fire and you get it going. And the oxygen that's feeding that fire is really coming from the top of the wood, right? Because it's sitting on a solid surface.
Right.
What's unique about the Solo Stove is that the holes at the bottom of the fire pit, which obviously people that are listening can't see, but you can imagine it. It has holes around the bottom, the base of the fire pit, and the wood is sitting on a grate with a lot of holes in it. And there's a floating ash pan underneath that allows the air that's coming through those bottom holes to actually travel up through the bottom of the fire pit and fuel the bottom of the fire with oxygen, no different than the top. So you're actually getting oxygen to all sides of the fire. And because of the hot air, it actually becomes somewhat of a vacuum, and it's sucking in oxygen through those bottom holes, which creates almost a furnace. It almost looks like there's a fan inside your fire pit when you're using it, especially as it gets hotter. And in this particular case, the that oxygen that's coming from the bottom of the fire and fueling it is creating a higher fueled fire and ultimately leading to that secondary combustion that we're talking about, which creates a hotter fire, which you're referencing. So as an example, a traditional fire is going to burn generally between 700 and 800 degrees or so Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
A solo stove fire can burn up to 1400 degrees. So almost double what a traditional fire will burn at. So your intuition around it burning hotter is absolutely spot on.
Yeah. It was interesting. It was like, we didn't actually put that much firewood in here, and this thing's just blazing,
The coolest things about it is because of how hot it burns and because of that airflow. I don't know if you noticed this, but you can burn for a couple of hours and actually you end up with only like a cup of fine ash left over. So, whereas you're used to a fire where you've got a couple of half burnt logs left over and a bunch of chunks and so on and so forth, this thing burns so hot and with such efficiency that all of the little particles of wood burn down all the way to fine ash in a general burn. And then you just got a very light cleanup afterwards. So it's a much cleaner product to use as well.
Yeah. And I would add to the cleanup, it seems like it's something that you guys put a lot of thought into, even just being able to put it away and store it, and the little bag that it comes in. And anyway, sold me on the products. Definitely. It's awesome. So
that's so great. That's awesome.
So let's actually go back a little bit. Why did these guys reach out to you, right, to come in and help them build this business? What were you doing at the time? And what do you think the particular skill set was that they were looking for?
Yeah, I've got a track record of hiring and building teams, and I have a track record of helping companies grow. That's really been my background. Before this opportunity at Solo Stove and now Solo Brands, the last 3 or 4 positions that I've held have all been, VP of sales or chief revenue officer type roles. So all very high growth oriented roles, focused on driving new business. And you couple that with this team building experience. And what the founders were looking for me to do was to build a team and then really help this business, Solo Stove first, to reach its potential, to capture the opportunity that existed in the marketplace. And it was a category creating business. This, if you would have asked me what the market size or the total addressable market for fire pits was, 3 years ago when I started, I probably would have given you an answer that's much smaller than even our total sales today. And It's growing rapidly because, again, we're creating this opportunity for people that maybe historically might think that a campfire in their backyard is kind of out of touch or not possible, and helping them realize that you can take the campfire to your backyard, but you can also take it to your front yard like you did on your driveway. You can take it to the tailgate. You can take it camping. You can take it to the beach. You can take it to the lake, have it on the shore. You really can put it wherever you'd like and then have that experience. And so they hired me to really try to go and figure out what the opportunity really looked like and how we could go about acquiring additional customers and continue to grow the business. And that's really been the focus for the last several years.
And so I've heard of the company just more recently and just, sort of the high growth trajectory that you guys are on. What did it look like when you joined a couple of years ago?
Yeah. So like I said, it was just a handful of employees. We had a single digit count for total employees in the building. And it was, like in a lot of ways, very similar to what it is today. It was a very scrappy business. We were outsourcing a lot of the services that we needed to function as a business. For instance, our fulfillment was being executed by a 3PL. Mm-hmm. And then we very quickly started bringing, different things in-house, including warehousing and fulfillment. We have a massive operation today. We do all of our warehousing and fulfillment ourselves. So we're able to deliver a much better customer experience than a traditional e-commerce business that is relying on somebody else to ship their product out to the customer. And then we've grown exponentially across every function of the business, from, again, our marketing departments to accounting and finance to logistics, supply chain, warehousing, fulfillment, HR. And it's been a wild ride building out the teams that's generated, the type of growth that we've seen as business.
I'm trying to think of, sort of big picture, your strategic plan. You're tagged as a new CEO to come in, and help them grow. What was the playbook that you ran in order to start generating some of this growth?
Yeah, it's really twofold. The first is I am a big believer and practicer of speed as a differentiator, as a competitive advantage. I truly believe that you're better to deliver at 80% and get twice as much done than to deliver at 100% and get half as much done. And for a lot of people, that just is hard to believe, and it's hard to execute. People want to do a great job, and I do too. I just have a different philosophy about getting there because I love iterating. I'm also a big believer that when you deliver at 80%, especially in today's world where, people are, everything's just more transparent, right? Social media has made things more transparent. Technology has made things more transparent. I think that being vulnerable with your customers, being human, being raw, as long as you're doing it in the name of delivering a better experience for the customer, actually ends up generating better results for you than being super polished and coming off really professional and almost intimidating your customers with your professionalism. So I tend to err on the side of 80% right, but twice as much output versus 100% right and half as much output. And that speed to market with ideas and execution has been a huge differentiator. And then the second one has been a relentless focus on people. And that the first people that we focus on are our customers, and our employee base internally is, right next to them. In fact, I feel like my employees are really my customer, and our customers, Solo Stove's customers and Solo Brands customers, are the customers of our employees. And so treating my employees the way that I want my employees to treat customers is a big part of winning. And we've been very focused on building an amazing team over here that's then been able to go and generate incredible experiences for our customers.
Yeah, I love those points. Do you have an example of using speed as a differentiator? The audience, is typically some entrepreneurs as well, and they're looking at doing some of these things with their own brands. Curious if you have an example, maybe around a product or marketing, of how you were able to use that principle.
Yeah, with products, it's just a matter of getting products to market faster and iterating more quickly. And that means failing fast, not making it perfect right out of the gate or trying to make it perfect right out of the gate, but getting your ideas to market and getting people using them and testing them so that you can then get to a viable product that you can launch faster. We've done that consistently as a brand over the last several years. And then on the operations side, I talked a little bit about bringing warehousing and fulfillment in-house, but one really good example of speed is just before the holidays of 2018, when our 3PL partner was not delivering from an experience standpoint or from a service level standpoint for our customers. And we went to them and said, hey, it's got to be better. And their response was, sorry, this is as good as it's going to get. And so we responded with, well, if it doesn't get better, we're going to have to do it ourselves. And they said, good luck. They didn't think there was any chance that we would stand up an operation before the holidays to execute and ship product on our own. We were able to pull that off and ultimately deliver a much better customer experience. But in the end, it actually ended up saving us a lot of money by doing the fulfillment ourselves. So not only did we get a better customer experience, but we actually saved a ton of money in the process. And today we operate an extremely successful warehousing and fulfillment operation globally. So now we have 6 different warehouse and fulfillment locations across the country, Canada, Europe, and Mexico. And that's made us tremendously competitive and created some moats around our business that make it hard for others to compete with us.
So I've seen you guys doing a lot of online advertising, and it seems like the direct to consumer, part of your business is pretty strong. Do you have anything that you could share around that and you guys' philosophy around direct to consumer in this day and age?
Well, we love direct to consumer. That's our bread and butter. It's what we focus on. The majority of our business is done through our own websites. And that's a big differentiator because when you are interacting with your customers on your own sites, it allows you to communicate with the customer post-purchase in ways that you couldn't if they were purchasing your product from, say, a retailer like Dick's Sporting Goods or Cabela's or Shields or something like that. Because you don't have access to that customer data, you ultimately miss out on the opportunity to interact with them. Our model allows us to go back to the customer even before they've received the product for the first time with follow-up emails, how to make a great fire, what fuel to use, accessories that you might be missing. And ultimately, we can generate a better customer experience because of our relationship that we generate through our online direct-to-consumer platform, but ultimately our reach and the way that we touch our customers through our website. So it's been tremendous for us. It's a marketing channel that we're passionate about. We are in love with e-com and believe, frankly, that the next 10 years and beyond are going to be owned from a commerce standpoint, from a consumer standpoint, by brands that know how to go direct to consumer and deliver exceptional customer experiences through their own websites and of course, email and social media and even text messaging now, which is becoming more and more popular. So we are very focused on direct to consumer e-com, and we love interacting with our customers. In fact, that relationship with the customers, since this is a product focused podcast, our relationship with the customers through e-com heavily influences what we do from a product standpoint in the future. So all of the engineering and designing that we're doing that's on our product roadmap is influenced by the feedback we're getting directly from our customers because of our relationship with them through our own websites. So for anyone that's out there thinking about launching a new product or has a product and they're trying to get it off the ground, building a cohort of consumers on your own site versus, say, going through a retailer or even going through Amazon, who owns the customer on your behalf, it's so much better and differentiated to have a relationship with the customer so that you can ask them what's great about your product, what's not great about your product, what new products should you be thinking about designing that you haven't yet. That feedback is invaluable and can really fuel kind of phase 2, 3, and beyond of growth for any business.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have an example that comes to mind of, maybe a particular piece of feedback that you felt really helped you guys make a better product? Or maybe launch a different product?
Yeah. Every product that we have stemmed from customer feedback. Every product we have, which is unbelievable, really, to think about. Just this year or late last year, we launched an accessory to our fire pit line called Lid, which is just that simple. It's exactly what it says that, it's in the name. It's just a lid. It's a stainless steel lid that you can put over the top of your fire pit. And you can do that when you still have warm coals in the bottom. So not with a roaring fire, but let's say you want to go in for the night and you've got your fire pit still going, you can throw the lid on and go inside. And because you've still got oxygen feeding it from the bottom, you're still getting airflow there, and you can go in and keep, rain out, but also just make sure that you're not leaving an open fire, susceptible to the outdoors before you go in for the night. And what's also cool about it is it doubles as like a little side table or a little coffee table in between chairs. If you've got, sitting outside, that product has done tremendously well for us this year, all because a customer just gave us the idea of, hey, how about a hard cover for the fire pits that would allow us to go inside? It was just a pain point for the customer to be able to go inside when they still had warm coals in the bottom of the fire pit. And we were able to solve that for them. And of course, in exchange, customers were willing to open their wallets and engage with the brand again, and felt even better about it because we were able to deliver that product at a good value.
Yeah, you typically think about this iteration concept, in the world of sort of software, which is kind of the world that I live in, right? Is release early and then just continue to iterate on your product and get that feedback as quickly as possible. Typically is harder for physical product brands to be that nimble, right? And maybe they can't get to the speeds that, like a software company can iterate on. But I still think that there's a lot, and I think you guys have shown this, there's a lot that you can do to iterate and apply that feedback that you're getting at a much faster clip. So anyway, I love that principle of speed, and using that as a competitive advantage.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, what about the future? So you guys are growing really quickly. What's next for Solo Brands?
We just earlier this year, realizing that we had built something pretty special with our fulfillment platform from an operations standpoint, and with our expertise around e-com and going digital and directing business through our own websites, we actually started looking for acquisitions. And we have been fortunate and lucky enough to partner with and acquire 3 brands this year in May, we purchased Oru Kayak, which is an incredible product. We could have a whole separate podcast about, but this is an origami kayak. It folds to the size of a briefcase, but weighs only 20 pounds. You can throw it on your back like a backpack, go mountain biking with it, or throw it in the back of a cab if you live in a city, and go anywhere you'd like, and just unfold it. And it becomes this hard, rigid kayak, almost as durable as a hard kayak would. So it's portable like an inflatable kayak, but rigid like a normal kayak that you're used to seeing, mounted on the top of a Jeep. And just incredible, based in California, patented technology, and a brand that we're super proud to own. So it's something to keep in mind for the listeners out there. Right after Oru, just a couple months later, we purchased the pioneers and innovators around the inflatable stand-up paddleboard space, a company called Isle, which is based in San Diego. And they design, manufacture, and sell both hard and portable inflatable paddleboards and surfboards. And that business is incredible. A hugely successful story. But one of the funnest things about those guys, it was founded by two surfers in 2004. They only sell online on their site and on Amazon, but their fulfillment strategy early on, before there was a robust network across the country to move large bulky items, once e-com took off and Amazon took off, they were actually loading surfboards onto the cargo area of Greyhound buses from San Diego and shipping them across the country, telling the customer, hey, just go down to the Greyhound station and look in the cargo area, your product's on the bus. And that's kind of how they got that product. Again, you talk about going back to this theme around speed and nimbleness, just shows the ingenuity that entrepreneurs can have at getting their product to market. And then right after Isle, we actually purchased an incredible apparel lifestyle brand called Chubbies. And if you're not familiar with Chubbies, you ought to check them out. But they reinvigorated and brought back the men's shorts of the 70s, the 5.5 to 8 inch inseam men's short swimsuits, the most incredible swimsuit you'll ever own, as well as workout gear. And now I've gotten into shirts. So now we are a platform of lifestyle brands and products, starting with Solo Stove, and then Oru Kayak, Isle, the paddleboards, and then Chubbies for outdoor lifestyle apparel. And we've now elevated the brand beyond just Solo Stove. The Solo Stove brand, of course, still exists, and so do the others. But I now operate as the CEO of Solo Brands, which is the parent company that houses that group of brands, or that family of brands.
So it's the idea then to bring the warehousing and fulfillment capabilities all within one roof, or what's
That's
the plan
exactly
there?
right. That's exactly right. So there are several economies of scale that kind of are brought to being through this platform play. And one of those is the fulfillment opportunity across all of the brands. Again, and the byproduct, the outcome is you end up saving a ton of cash by doing it yourself. But the focus and the reason we do it is to deliver a great customer experience. Nobody will ever care about taking care of your customers as well as you do. And by doing the fulfillment ourselves, we cut out the 3PL, or the third-party logistics companies that are typically doing fulfillment for e-commerce businesses. And we do it ourselves and get that product directly to the customer as quickly as possible. And by doing so, of course, create lovers of our brands. And as we create lovers of our brands and loyalists and followers, they share the brands with their friends. And the next thing you know, you're generating referral business, and your business starts growing exponentially. So it's been a wild ride, and a super fun one for us as we think about partnering with these additional lifestyle brands and bringing them into the Solo family.
Yeah. So, with warehousing and fulfillment, obviously it's not a light thing to stand up, that capability in-house. And I'm wondering what your opinion is on times when maybe it makes sense to go with the 3PL, and then how that, hey, maybe this is something that we need to think about bringing in-house. How would you encourage brands to think about that?
My philosophy now, I think it's changed over time. My philosophy now is that every brand should be doing it themselves, as long as you have the scale to justify the investment. But you can start small. I mean, if you only need 2,000 square feet, then only get 2,000 square feet. If you need 10, go get 10. Today, we have about 700,000 square feet across the world for our warehousing and fulfillment needs. And we've, of course, scaled that over time. We didn't start with that much space. I am passionately behind the idea of taking great care of the customer. And for e-commerce businesses, I think it's very hard to do that well without building it yourself and being in control. That's how I strongly feel about it. We honestly did it initially, not even thinking about what the impacts were going to be. We were willing to make the investment, and we thought that it would be an expense to do it ourselves. We thought it would cost us. It just turns out that if you do it really well, not only do you get better customer experience, but you actually can save money from the fees that 3PLs are charging you. Because again, if you can do it as good or better than the 3PLs doing it, then maybe you could even do it more efficiently. And 3PLs aren't operating at a loss, they're making a profit. So if you can bring that profit back into the door for your own business, that it allows you to reinvest back into your customer, whether it's additional product development or just generating better customer experiences by making investments into customer service and supply chain and other areas that impact the overall customer journey and customer happiness with your brand. And that's what we've seen. So, if I were talking to another entrepreneur, I would be encouraging them to think about it. And you can do it scrappy in the beginning, right? You do it out of your own garage until you have the volume that you need to go and get something further or bigger. But a lot of people just get overwhelmed with the idea of, as their business is growing and they have more units, like I need to go find a 3PL. But what if instead of hiring a 3PL that's going to cost you, $40,000 a month to fulfill your products, you hire a warehouse manager for $8,000 a month and have them dedicated to fulfilling your products. So it's just a different philosophy, but one that we believe in heavily over at Solo Brands.
Okay, awesome. Well, I know that you've got another call here. Just want to wrap up. Let's switch over to the quick fire round. I've got 4 questions for you, and just give me a quick answer. What's one tool or resource that you feel has helped you a lot in your career?
We use Basecamp at Solo that I am a big fan of. It's just an inter-office communication tool and have found it to be super helpful. Awesome.
What about a book that you can recommend to the audience?
My favorite book is Whatever It Takes. And it's Steven Schwartzman wrote it, founder of BlackRock, and it's incredible. Highly recommend it.
Okay, I haven't read that one. I'll have to look into it. What is one piece of advice that you would give to your 21-year-old self?
Read more books.
Nice. And is there somebody in your field of work or another entrepreneur or somebody that you look up to that you'd love to take to lunch?
I'd love to go to lunch with Jeff Bezos, for sure. I wouldn't consider him to be a peer of mine by any stretch, but that guy fascinates me. I'm a pretty big dreamer, and I think I may have met my match with him. So that would be pretty fun.
Nice. Well, if somebody wanted to reach out to you or connect with you or your products, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so solostove.com, solobrands.com gives you access to link into any of the brands in our platform. So for Oru Kayak or Isle or Chubbies, you can find all of our brands, including Solo Stove, at solobrands.com. And then you can link over to those sites, and you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, awesome. Hey, John, thank you for taking the time today. This has been awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a bunch.
See ya. The Physical Product Movement podcast is brought to you by Fiddle. To find out more about Fiddle and how our industry-leading inventory ops platform is giving modern brands and manufacturers full visibility into their inventory and operations, visit fiddle.io, and then make sure to search for Physical Product Movement in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Fiddle, thanks for listening.